Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Tequila Chats. I am really excited to have our guest today, Linda Lea. She is a powerhouse producer. She is a star maker. For real, you're a star maker. We owe a lot of incredible stars to you. She's behind some of the most iconic TV shows like Chopped, like Queer Eye. And so, Linda, thank you very much for taking the time to be here this morning in beautiful Miami. We finally got some sun.
Thank you.
So it's fantastic.
I love what you're doing. I've seen your show, and thank you for having me.
No, you're too sweet. If you were to hear this story, it's very funny. For months, we've been trying to do this whole thing. And then last night, we were at our friends, Bob and Steve's home, this fantastic, fabulous party. And I saw Linda. I was like, I think she has one too many drinks. I'm going to go for this. And we made plans for this morning. And by the way, it's still not, it's actually just noon right now, but it's cheers.
I'm still tipsy.
Cheers to you.
You got me.
Thank you for doing this.
It was great to see you.
So do you like 1942, right? I think we were talking about that earlier.
Everyone has to know what it is. I didn't know what it is for years. And then we had a celebratory toast at an event, and it's not like anything you've ever had. Yeah, it's really delicious. A very, very solid tequila. So I was just reading about it, and it was saying that the 1942 is the first year that this distillery opened with Don So they've
Julio.
had plenty of time to
perfect
right.
it. And they keep it, I guess, for 2.5 years. I'm going to give you a little bit more. Because why not? It's now afternoon. So we could, oh my God, look at this. Do you see mine? I'm like overpouring myself. I have that problem when it comes to my drink. So it's a nice, solid, very delicious tequila. And so cheers again.
Thank you. Cheers.
And thank you again for that.
Yes.
So Tequila Chats, I think I mentioned it to you before. It's about learning from the best in different industries. We are really good at putting out there success and putting out there the shiny part of the business. And I think it's great because it creates inspiration and it creates, dreams for people that are trying to do whatever they're trying to accomplish in their lives. But I think what gets lost sometimes is the hard work that goes behind. And we are not really good at speaking about that hard work.
Yes.
Because I don't think it is something that we are encouraged to do as we are trying to create a career. And so Tequila Chat is about that. Yes. And it's also about kind of like understanding where you come from. I'm one who believes that your origin story, like the place that you come from, how you grew up, really determines how you see the world and how do you see opportunities. I know that for my own, story, from my own history. And so, Linda, where does Linda Lea come from? Tell us a little bit about it.
A little bit about it. Always very independent and rebellious. My parents would put me at the mall and just let me go. And I would walk and never really turn back to see if they were following me. I just would go. It's in my DNA to be independent and go. Yes. So I was planning on, after college, just selling real estate in Aspen because I was kind of a speed bum. And I met Joe Pitka, who's a big commercial director who was doing a commercial because I was a waitress at the and met him there, and he was doing a commercial under the Grand Tetons many moons ago, and invited me to the set. I got to see the budget. I got to see what was going on, and I called my dad and I said, "Forget it. Everything has changed. I've been influenced by the best in the business. I'm going to Los Angeles."
So it's almost like it found you. Yeah. Because you never thought of TV production or production in general as something that you wanted to do.
I would watch the credits at the end of films and see and understand what those were. So I guess it was, but there was no opportunity. There's no one in Tallahassee, Florida that knew anything about production or television or Hollywood or that. So I had no way in. So that was my break. That was the first time I'd seen it and knew immediately that was going to be my course.
And so you feel that kind of like mentorship from the beginning is what made the difference for you?
Yeah, I got exposed to it. Someone grabbed me and said, "Here's the behind the scenes. This is what's going on." And to see the budget, and this was 1985, and he showed me the budget, and there was a line item for someone who got $10,000 a day.
Who was that?
And I said, well, I can do whatever that person's doing, I can do that. And it took many years to, it's not that easy.
Of course.
There's a lot of skill that comes with that line item. So from there, I went to Los Angeles, and my dad was worried about me being too far away from home, and he got me an internship on Miami Vice.
No way.
So my first real production job was working for the casting director who had the Miami Vice contract and all of the movies that would come in.
And they were based out of Florida.
Yeah, so I
out of
moved to Miami. I moved to Bal Harbor.
Okay.
And did that for a couple of years and really got a taste of it very quickly.
So would you consider that one of your like tipping points in your career?
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
That was the
And
turn.
you felt it?
I felt it. I loved it. And, it's long hours. Everybody's like, how did you do it? And you really, I was not going to do anything else. Like, I knew that was my course.
Yeah.
When Vice wrapped, I went to Atlanta and got into the CNN TNT universe for a few years and realized Atlanta's not going to be a film.
So you went into news? Is that?
Yeah, because it was, my parents just kept trying to keep me in the South.
Yes.
And I didn't have any interest in New York. So I've been talking about going to Los Angeles, and they were like, don't do it. Just
it's a little bit too far,
CNN, So I did that for a year, and I really didn't like it.
Yeah.
And I'd met some girls who were on a film, and they called and said, come stay with us. I'm working on this movie called Thelma and Louise. And,
oh my gosh.
So come stay
amazing.
with us. So I went to LA. My mom didn't speak to me for a long time. She's like, there's no security in it. You don't have any idea what's going to happen. And I was, I'm not going to stay. I did it for 1 year. I went to the Omni Center. I worked for Ted Turner for a year.
Yes.
And I knew that there was just not going to be a...
So let me ask you, so you went from like television to news to film. It feels like you're very aligned right now with television.
Television, yeah.
Is that a choice, or is just that your business took you in that direction?
It's a choice, because when I got out there and I had Thelma and Louise, and I did a few movies, and I was trying to be an AD, an assistant director on films, and I just long hours. We would be on location for 6 months, and it was kind of a carny life that I tried it.
Yes.
And then when I got back to Los Angeles, a friend of mine hired me to do a show called Rescue 911 with William Shatner.
Yes.
And it was the beginning of reality television, and it was very well funded.
Yeah.
We were on the lot, and it was a great opportunity. And it was just the three of us instead of a crew of 100 taking 30 hours to set up a shot.
For 2 months.
And I'm sitting there flipping through a magazine. I was like, no, I'm too busy.
Yeah.
So I had that journalism, and I wanted the fast run of it. So, yeah.
So let me go back to this notion of the tipping point, because I think that gets lost sometimes as you are trying to build a career, a business. How do you feel those tipping points coming? Is that something? Is it your gut? How do you identify those tipping points?
Those tipping points? God, when in my 20s, living in Los Angeles and being a freelance producer, every day, I didn't know if I was ever going to have another job. Like the Hollywood Reporter would come out, there would be jobs, you'd send your resume old school style in. I would never hear from anyone. Yeah. And I just thought, man, I should wrap it up and go back home. This is going to be too hard. But I just stayed the course. Yes. And so I think to answer your question about the tipping point, I think mine was just, I was not going to do anything else, and I stayed the course. Yes. And I might not work for 3 months, but all the other people that I knew, they weren't working for 3 months either, and we all just kind of stuck together. Yeah. And I think probably after Rescue, I did a bunch of things, but when my career turned, so I was always I was the prop girl, I was the art director girl, I was the assistant director. Yeah. I did everything job. Yeah. So that was a good groundwork. But
do you know what? That seems to be the key. Every time that I talk to somebody about how they build their business, they've done it all. Yeah. Right? And I
some of the best chefs started as dishwashers.
Yes, exactly.
And never went to school. Yes. So I kind of started as a dishwasher. Yeah. And just to keep working, I did every job that I was offered and had a blast. Yeah. So now no one can really fuck with me.
Yes, yes, no.
I know it all now,
so
right?
You know
It's
how
like,
to do it.
no,
You know what is happening.
don't bullshit
Yes, yes,
me.
exactly. There's no
And-
BS. That's the way that I feel.
Yeah.
That's the way that I feel. Yeah.
So I moved to New York because of a relationship and was kind of taking a little time off. And now I don't realize how much content and base knowledge I have.
Yeah.
And I run into a friend and he says, "We're so glad you're here. We want you to be an executive producer." And I was like, "I can't be.
Yeah.
I'm a line producer. I don't have that skill set."
Yeah.
And he said, "You don't realize it. You do
You have it.
it.
Yes,
You've
exactly.
done all these jobs, and that's really what it is. And
Yeah.
the fact that you understand the money part of it is
Yes.
even better." I said, "But
Yeah.
I'm not creative." Yes, you are.
Yes, of course.
You have
You're
ideas.
putting all these things together, right?
So I was very nervous about that, and didn't think I had it. But as I started to, use that muscle,
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh wow, I can sit in a room and have an opinion about a good idea."
So let me ask you. So right now, where you are in your career, do you feel that you made it, or you always have this feeling that something could be pulled from out there? Like what is I'm terrible at expressions in
Right.
English. Like the rock can be pulled from under your feet, whatever the expression is.
Well, I have a note on my computer that says, "What's the next Chopped?" So it's always, what is that?
Yes.
That's a phenom of a show
Yeah.
that we didn't expect, and
Yes.
it's been running for 15 years now. Yes, I made it.
Yes.
I did it.
Yes.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I love it. Like I will produce until they carry me out in a pine box. So I really, really love it. But I do believe that there's the next thing.
There's
But I
something-
don't
yes.
stress about it anymore.
Yeah.
I'm at a place
Got
now
it.
that I'm not struggling and swimming upstream on it.
Got it.
I go, wow, I know some of the brightest in the business. And so what do I want to do next?
So Chopped is a cultural phenomenon because I think that Chopped really launched this notion of the star chef, right? I don't
Yeah.
think that we had popular chefs, but chefs were not rock stars necessarily. But I think that Chopped really kind of like
Shined a light
defined that
on-
culture, right? Something that I love about Chopped is that you and the show have really created this incredible culture of this female rock star chefs. And I think that's something, I've been in this country for 30 something years. And I think prior to that, there was no that awareness that you had such incredible talent and like just spectacular,
Right.
female chefs. And I think that is fascinating. Was that a choice or as you were putting together the seasons and the show, you kind of like realized that the talent was there? I'm just curious about that.
As a female owned business, yes, I was very involved in making sure that there was diversity
Yeah.
and that women were represented. Because at the beginning of the show, we hadn't seen many women.
Yeah.
And so a big influence was Alex Garnaschelli and Amanda Freitag. And it was, listen, Bobby's great, but I'm just as good as Bobby.
Yes, yes,
and but I'm not getting the recognition.
Yes.
So let's use this
Yeah.
quietly, hide the
Yeah.
veggies.
Yes,
and we
yes,
don't
yes.
need to talk about it or make a statement about it, but
Yeah.
let's
Let's
get this
just do it.
done. Let's
Yes.
get this done.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
so there's always been a deliberate shine on that.
But you feel
But the
that-
women really, all we did was just make sure we were casting more
Yes.
women.
Yes, yes.
And then at the
They did what they
beginning,
needed
they
to do.
weren't winning so much. And we're like, ooh, the guys are beating the girls. And now it's the cleanest, truest competition ever.
Yes.
And we're just there and we give them some ingredients and
Yes.
we don't get involved at all. But the women are really, they have come up. It's beautiful to see.
Let me ask you a question. When you look at like what you're describing right now, like you now have all this cohort of chefs that there's uniformity in terms of what they can produce, and like you said, it's a fair fight, right? Regardless of who they are. In your production career, because when you look at credits on television shows and movies, it seems like it's a very male-dominated kind of like
We're
down
still fighting
business.
the fight.
And so, for you in your experience, how certainly you pioneered a lot of that with the work that you were doing, but do you feel that we are there? Or do you feel that there is a lot more work that needs to be done to really find that even plane?
I think that there have been some conversations about making a concerted effort to represent.
Yes.
And then there's a little bit of a pendulum backlash to, do I really have to? I just want to hire the best.
Yes.
So when do we just start hiring the best camera person and the best, and not have this conversation anymore?
Yes.
But I guess what I'm saying is that if you look at the crew on Chopped, it's 50-50. And there are women audio, women grip, female camera operators, and they're just the best.
Yeah.
Whatever the environment we created as a safe zone has allowed the best to bubble up. And it doesn't matter if you're a boy or a girl, but I'd stand back and go, look at this. This is, it just gives me chills.
Yeah, I had a person many years ago said to me, because I was trying to figure out how do you grow the business, and then the strategy this, and the person like, yes, you have to have the strategy, but understand that culture eats strategy for breakfast.
Yes.
And I was like, you know what? That says a lot. It's such a cool, simple thing. Yes.
It'll find its way.
Yeah, but culture is what creates the growth, right?
Yeah.
Culture and that shift on culture, what really creates those moments in which we advance or we grow. Or
that's so true. Right? And I think, people will ask, how did Chopped, why the same people that are working there for 15 years, we just had a bring your kid to work. And so now all of a sudden, after 15 years, people got married, they have kids, so now all the kids are there.
Oh, that is so cute.
And it is a culture.
Yes.
And that culture has helped propel it and keep it going. Because a lot of productions don't hire the same people repeatedly because the schedules don't work. And but now, God, we're so lucky, and that culture is 90% of the success of the show.
Yeah. And how do you feel about that shift on just queer culture? Because Queer Eye was pretty groundbreaking. I think we talked about it last night. I was telling that I auditioned for that. Obviously, I didn't make it, guys. Sorry. But I did audition for that show. And
you should have.
I know. I should have just stayed with it. I should have Well,
stay
now we know.
Course.
I know exactly. But we wouldn't be having this conversation if things happen for a reason. But Queer Eye was a moment in which it shifted that perception of queer culture and queer television. Are you able to see that? Because when you're in the middle of it, you sometimes don't see the impact. I know that for myself, right?
Right.
You're just in the middle. You're doing your thing. You're trying to catch up. You're trying to return emails. Whatever it is that you're trying to. Then you realize the impact. Are you able to see that impact of what it did?
We knew when we were doing it what was happening. It was just. We lived and breathed it. We were all in a bubble, and we're so busy. We didn't have time for the outside world.
Yeah.
But we were really super aware of what was happening.
Yeah.
And it was a phenom.
Yeah.
No one expected it. I wasn't there at the beginning, and when I saw that I was doing another show, and I saw the first episode, and I said, this is the best thing I have ever seen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the boys who created it were filmmakers. They didn't understand budgets. They
just went
were just, the music was amazing.
Yeah.
No one in television, regular reality television was being controlled by the studios.
Yeah.
They didn't have they just were free to do whatever they wanted. And that freedom just brought this, it was a fantastic idea at the right time, but then also the freedom to not produce with limitations allowed it to just.
So you feel that it was more of a creative enterprise in some ways more than a production enterprise?
Because you have to pay music rights. And so they'll say, just use marginal music. And the boy, when I say the boys, David Collins and Mike Williams, they just said, no. If I don't have I'm gay, and if I don't have the right music, this isn't going to work. Yeah. And so when you think, they recorded their own music. These guys are.
No, that's
those boys are absolutely the most talented guys I've worked with. They're amazing. So to be a part of it, that taught me a lot.
Yes.
Because I had been sort of structured by the studio. Yeah. So for there to be no rules, it was the best time of my life.
And as you look at all this, again, groundbreaking television and this long career in production, what would you think was kind of like your biggest hurdle Is there anything that happened at some point that almost made you rethink what you were doing?
Oh God, yes. Just being, I had a project that got handed to me that I didn't develop, and it had very big stars who needed a lot of hand-holding, and they flew me in. And I was like, they don't like each other. There's a lot at risk. There was, tension between a lot of people, and I was like, how can I just get into a tiny little car accident just enough and I was telling the talent that, and he was like, Linda, we're not that bad. I was like, just a little
I need a couple of weeks off.
Hit the rail on the 405 just enough to say, I can't do this anymore. I want it out. I really thought. And so when you're working, the reason why I was so sad is because I didn't start it. So I didn't own it from the beginning. And I was just handed something that I couldn't fix.
Yeah. No, I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah.
So from there, my turning point was, that's it. I am going to, I know what I know. I'm just going to build it myself. And then once I know what it is and I hand it to someone, I give them a very long leash. Like I don't micromanage at all.
Yeah.
But I think I want to start from the beginning. So that was a challenge, and I did think about getting out of the business.
Yeah.
Because I had partners who were not really producers, who were just trying to make money and do it for the wrong reasons. And so we just had a lot of mess. So so that's when I started Good Egg Entertainment.
Yes.
Having worked with Bad Eggs.
Is that what the name is from?
Yes.
I love that.
I now am at a place where I'm confident in what I know, and I know a lot more than a lot of people in this business, that I can weed out the bad eggs and have the good eggs. But then, of course, it was related to food, because I'd created a crime show, and that was, I didn't want to sit in an edit bay for hours at a time reenacting bloody crime stuff.
Yes.
So I just said, I just want to do food.
Yes.
And then the egg part of it is female.
Yeah.
So it's a all female run company, which we hire everyone who's good.
Yes, of course.
You just have to be good.
That is, yes, exactly.
Good in spirit and good at your job. So I'm very proud of that. Yeah.
No, you absolutely should be.
It came from a lot of learning, a lot of growth.
I feel like I've learned that same lesson. I learned the lesson that I want to do and work with the people and the things that I know I'm going to enjoy and be successful at. And I actually do wish that I would have learned that lesson a long time ago. And I wish that somebody would have told me that. They would have said to me, look, I know you are trying to capture as much of real estate business as you feel like you need to, but sometimes when you make those decisions, it becomes a better business, and it opens the doors for you to do things that you actually want to do versus burning the candle on things that you shouldn't, right?
Right. It's like you can't race to it. It's a marathon, and just be slow and thoughtful and wise. Yeah. I think there's just a lot of pressure bubbling, and fame, and it's so Shakespearean what happens to people in this business. And it's like, slow down. Yes. If you're committed to it, it's going to happen. Yes. And be wise. Yes. Don't. You mentioned earlier that you have no interest in micromanaging, but I do feel that as a business, as a career grows, that you feel that you might have to keep your hands on everything. How do you learn to control that impulse? Because I think it's a natural impulse to control everything, right? Yeah. Well, listen, the first 10 years of that show, I had my hand on everything. Yeah. And so my assistant, who was with me the entire time, she was the only person that I would trust to take it, because she now has my voice. So I'm still there every day, but I'm not having to make sure that the basket is right. They got it now. Got it. Mm-hmm. So that's the nice thing, is that I have brilliant people who care about it and know how to do it. But so I didn't give them a long leash for a long, long time. Yeah. So the long leash happens after I control it.
Yeah, no, I totally
I'm
hear
very
it.
much a
I totally hear
control
it.
freak. And
Yeah. Yeah.
one of my, so the team that we hired, I'd come from live television, and this New York team had never done live to tape television. So I said, when you have 100 people on set, your first shot off is at 8 a.m. If it gets to 8:15, then everybody sort of doesn't know what to do, and they're trying to figure out why we didn't start on time.
Yes.
So, and then now you're spending all this inefficient time having the conversation about why we didn't start on time. So it's just like, so I'm here.
Do you hear that, Michael?
It's
Gotta start on time.
Setting my watch.
it's 8 a.m. So when I would sit there and I'm there, I'm ready to go. My pencils are sharp, and it's 8:02.
Yes.
And I say, what's going on? I want to know.
Yeah.
And they're like, it's happening. It's happening. No.
Yeah.
Who's
It
late?
was 8 o'clock. Yeah.
What's the inefficiency thing? And I know it sounds ridiculous, but they appreciated it. And now I'm not there, and I think they start at 8:22. So, and they still get out on time. So it's fine. But I was very militant about. And I think people appreciate
But
knowing
it's that sense
what
of culture,
to
right?
do.
It's part of that culture. You gotta create it so there's a set of expectations. This is what we're doing. This is how we do it.
Yeah.
And I think it sets
Live
the parameters
television
for
is
everybody.
live television.
Yes,
I mean,
of course.
The Oscars start.
At that point, whether you are there or not, right?
The
Whether you went to a
football
bathroom or
game
not.
kicks off at, the
Yeah.
wedding starts at 6.
Yes,
so.
exactly.
Michael.
Exactly. Michael.
Setting my alarm.
And so I need to get you out of here because I see poor Jill. She's like, get me out of here. I want to go to lunch. But I have...
We have important things to do.
Yes. But I have 2 more questions because for obvious reasons, you have received numerous awards and recognitions for the work that you have done. They're obviously well deserved. What role do you think that they have played in your career? Because we do the same thing in real estate. We have, every year there is an award. There is something, you're number one. But I've learned in my business that some years, because we are depending on market conditions, if the market is bad and you cannot be number one, it is what it is, and you cannot take that too seriously. But some years you actually can kill it and be number one. And earlier on, that will kill me. That will really...
If that's what's motivating
It was unhealthy.
you.
It was an unhealthy way of looking at it.
And now I didn't get it.
Yes, and then you're like, what? You feel depressed, sad.
Yeah.
In your career, in your business, in your own experience, what do you feel is that the role of those recognitions? And those awards?
I think they're important. I mean, but I agree. I'm not doing it for the award. I'm doing it because I love it.
Yeah.
And when the awards come, man, I feel good.
Of course.
And what it does is I forget about the award, but the other people don't. So when someone looks up and says, wow, she has a James Beard,
that's incredible,
that's right,
by the way. How cool is that?
That's really cool. Yeah. But it's very meaningful for the rest of my career.
Yes.
So I would say strive for it, but don't let it, rule your life.
Yes, your life.
But so now, I mean, we would get acknowledged by Critics' Choice Award every year, and we did win. And then Chops didn't get it last year, and I was like, oh man. But then there's a new show that bubbles up.
Yes.
That's great.
And there's the next year, and
But now will I now be driven to go and beat my team up and say, we got to get back on that list? No. We'll find there'll be another list. Like just keep doing what we're doing, and we'll do it. But they're very important. I would say.
Yeah, agreed. Same thing for me.
An Emmy nomination, just even a nomination is very important.
And I've learned that too, that when they happen, I just love it. And I party all year, right?
Right.
Yeah, because you never know what the next year is going to bring.
I got applauded.
It's like my birthday. I love my birthday because, I don't know, who knows next year, right? And so I'm going to celebrate it this year.
Celebrate it every day.
A whole month of parties.
No, I think working towards a nomination and getting that award is big.
Yes, of course. And now as you look at your entire career, all the things that you have done, if you could kind of like share with people that are watching, what do you think is the key to success?
God, that's a big one. But I told my brother, he's like, how did you do it? And I said, I just kept showing up. I I was willing to listen and get advice from everyone. And if it's what you really, really want, it'll happen.
Yeah.
And know what it is you want to do. Because I think a lot of people, young people, had it. I want to be Linda Lea. I was like, well, I don't know how. I think there were a lot of lucky circumstances that helped me be where I am today.
Yes.
But I think for a young kid, it's like just be willing and excited and enthusiastic about learning and asking to be in the room. You know, it's like go be an assistant to an executive.
Yeah.
You know, answer the phones.
Be part of it, right?
Be a part of it. Listen to those conversations.
Yes,
just
it is.
listen, be aware, and have a good attitude and show up on time.
Yes.
If you're late 2 or 3 times, this is real. This is a really big business. So show up and smile and listen and ask.
Yeah, no, totally. You know, it's something interesting. The more I have this conversation with people, the answer to this question is always that simple. And it is do it all, show up, answer your phone calls, shake hands. It's about the most basic stuff. I think that we're in a culture right now that really, I think, pushes us towards having this immediate success, or at least shows this notion that success is immediate and that's all that matters. And I think is the process the one that is the interesting one, right?
Yeah, it's dangerous. I mean, we just worked with Jill just worked with a model who's an influencer, and she's 21 years old, and the fame was instant. And so now I'm sure there are many girls who want that same thing. And it's like, it's not, it's just.
Yeah. No,
I mean, but that's always been the case in Hollywood. Why did Sylvester Stallone get cast for Rocky when they were probably looking at Mel Gibson?
Somebody else, yes.
You know,
yes, the way that happens.
But I think today with social media, it's even more difficult because they see instant success or what they think is instant success, and they want it.
No, of course. Linda, I need to get you out to lunch, as I was saying earlier.
Much.
But thank you for being here. I really mean it. What you have done is extraordinary. The way in which you have changed culture, the people that you have introduced us to, the way in which you have changed, the way in which we see the world, and the way in which people contribute. It's really extraordinary.
Thank you.
You have been part of one of my favorite people in the world, Tiffany Faison. I love her to death. And she's part of your universe. And so
another one who I said, that one's not going anywhere.
Yeah, she's incredible. She shouldn't go anywhere.
Go this way.
Yes.
And she will.
Yeah, she is there. Yeah, she's incredible. But thank you again.
Yeah, thank you very much
for doing this.
Me.
I really, really appreciate it. I love it.
Cheers.
And cheers.
And to some delicious vitamins for today.
Hello and salud. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.